there for 2.5 hours.
Oh, we have to wait till 9 o'clock. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any minutes and reports received and filed?
Yes, I have the collector March 2024.
Okay. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
I've got a radio show due in the morning for the Home Builders Association sponsoring the Chamber Connections, and Campo Board meeting tomorrow at noon. Meet with the auditors Thursday morning. Chamber Connections, as mentioned, sponsored by HBA, Thursday afternoon. Not a lot of other meetings, but there's a lot of activities and fundraisers going on this weekend too. So, and then the Habitat Volunteer Appreciation Breakfast is Monday as well. So we had a couple other things. This Tuesday, the state of the county.
It is, yes.
So
As I
we'll
will,
have another meeting before that, but do have that coming up.
you better be nice to me.
They're not gonna give you the microphone. I already paid them.
I got 10 minutes, I have to talk, so you better be nice to me. Okay.
The only thing I have, in addition to what Jeff has mentioned, is Williams Keepers. Where is our auditor? Are they here tomorrow for the rest of the week?
Yeah. Well, they started work yesterday. They're just not coming on site.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, well, this week is telecommunications week, so we need to thank all our 911 and all our dispatchers. Tomorrow, yeah, I meet with Williams Keepers at 8:30, and then I just discovered it is actually Jeff Helsher, Eastern Commissioner's birthday tomorrow as well, so everybody just inundate his computer with
It's a
emails.
recommended holiday.
Yeah,
Try to.
state holiday, or county
Yes.
holiday?
Think it should be.
Uh,
I only got one vote though, when we
Yeah.
talked about that.
And then Thursday, the Mid-Missouri Veterans Express is going to Perryville, and they're returning to Courtyard at 6 p.m. And Gretchen down in the collector's office wants everybody to come out and welcome them back. Friday is the Leadership Forum. Saturday, the Sons of the American Revolution holds Patriots Day, so we're giving out awards. And also Serve Jefferson City is going to be cleaning up around Jefferson City. And I think Monday I've got a meeting at the health department, so that's it. Any commission comments? Bids and contracts. Renewal of contract with Dr. K. Wood for medical director services.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is just our annual contract with Dr. K. Wood. Sign up on our standing orders and collaborative practice agreement. There was no increase in his fee for this next year.
Good. Make a motion to approve the renewal of the contract with Dr. Kaywood for medical director services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approval and signing of MODHSS contract for Show Me Healthy Women, Wise Woman program.
This is a supplemental contract that DHSS has started for the Wise Woman contract for healthier behavior support options. So for women who don't have insurance that cover those preventive services, you know, prevention is always the key to catching things early. This provides some incentives for them to go to those appointments. So say they have to go to an appointment in Columbia to a specialist, but they don't have money for a ride. We can supplement that, or they need groceries because they can't go to the grocery store, or they don't, you know, they've lost their job because they're sick. So this just provides some, it's only $500, but it does provide us the ability to provide some incentives to make sure that they get those preventative screenings.
Good. Oh, sure, I was gonna give you the shorter trip, so. I'll make a motion to approve and sign the Mo DHSS contract for Show Me Healthy Women, Wise Woman program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Bid award 2024 chip seal program 2024-502-1.
So we opened bids on this project last Friday. Missouri Petroleum Products is the low bidder at $754,717.75. And we recommend award to them. Several roads on the list, actually about 26 miles of chip seal overlays being done. There's a lot in the Taos area, and we are working with Taos on some of their roads as kind of a co-op. They're paying for their portion of the sales tax, and it's a good opportunity to lump a lot of work together at the same time and get the best price. So recommend award to Missouri Petroleum for this project in the amount of $754,770.75.
Just a quick question. That was a reasonable number that we were expecting, is that?
The estimate was over that by about $11,000, so it's under estimate, and it's within what we expected.
Got it.
The
Right.
engineer's estimate was just about right on, so,
Pretty close, yeah.
you good?
Mhm.
All right,
That's-
make,
That one tracks pretty close. We can kind of gauge those prices pretty reasonably every year.
make a motion to award the bid and sign the contract for the 2024 chip seal program with Missouri Petroleum Products Company.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, bid award 2024-12 concrete repair services.
We bid out the concrete repair services for our Public Works Department and had the bid opening on April 11th. We had 4 vendors submit a response. Our recommendation is going to be to award it to the lowest and best bid with availability. You guys should have the bid tab.
Yeah, I forgot you sent that one separate, so I didn't have that one opened up, sorry. So, you good with it? Okay. We'll make a motion to award the concrete repair services to the lowest and best available.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have any unfinished business? New business, accounts payable review.
I'd ask for approval of accounts payable pending review.
Motion to approve accounts payable pending review.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, discussion on Public Works building expansion.
So, we've been looking at this for quite a while now, and it coincides with our overall master plan for our facility. And as we've been progressing through ideas and how we want this thing to look, we decided that it would be best to do the shop expansion first. Ultimately, the 5055 facility on Monticello becomes the central maintenance when, at the time that we build a new building up on the property where the former gas station was. So we're talking about the expansion to the shop right now. And it, in the 2024 capital improvements budget, we included $100,000 in the 806 sales tax courthouse portion to do plan specifications and estimate to add on. And what I've shown you is, and you should have gotten, I got it laid there and emailed it ahead of time. This is a general layout of what we're looking at doing. So main things to point out here is we want to add on, and that's shown in blue on the drawing. And it'll include a wash bay. We currently don't have a wash bay. We have to go in town to wash vehicles and equipment, and it's cumbersome and it's not very efficient for our operations. The wash bay would be fully enclosed within the building, include a clean out or a sediment basin to clean out solids and whatnot that goes down in there. It would tie into the sewer system, and so it'd be fully enclosed. The previous wash system we had actually just went into a drain and ended up in the creek. But that's been unhooked for several years, so we just don't have anything right now to wash. The new expansion would have a taller roof. Tyler can attest to this. We currently can't raise up dump trucks especially, and larger equipment fully to get under there to work on them. That's a problem with the current building, the way it's situated. A portion of the current building, we would take the roof off and raise it up to match in with this new expansion. So that's shown in kind of the hatched area on the drawing. And as we do this, this would set us up for phase 2 and ultimately phase 3 of expanding central maintenance. Phase 2, of course, would be adding the sheriff's department. Phase 3 would be EMS. We believe that we can facilitate adding the sheriff's department without building a new office and, facility. Phase 3, if we go to EMS, that would require us moving out and this become full central maintenance, and that's a later date. But so we're setting ourselves up for the future by, expanding the shop. Right now, they're tight on space. And you get a couple dump trucks in there and a grader, and there's just no room to work on anything. It's just tight, and the way we've expanded what we do in-house, the changes we've made, this is becoming necessary to do. So now's the right time to work on that. It fits in with our overall plan. What we would like to do is, we have the money in the budget, we would like to advertise a request for qualifications for an architect to do the design of this facility. It'll take some engineering, but it's primarily architectural work. The main thing is it's gonna take some expertise is designing the wash bay. We'd probably pattern it after Boone County's. They've just completed a new wash bay, probably within the last 6 months or so, give or take. And we've toured it a few times, mostly recently we went up there about two months ago. And very good system how they did that. And so we'll probably pattern it very similar to that, maybe make a few changes to suit us a little bit differently. Goal would be to advertise RFQs by the first of May, and hopefully get those in and make a recommendation to the county commission by early June, who our preferred company is to work with. Have an estimate, at least a rough estimate, to put into the budget for 2025 for construction, and have plans and everything ready to bid by early 2025. So entertain any questions you have. Detailed questions, whatever you got, we'd be happy to answer.
Do you lose a driveway with this?
We do, and we can explain that. So yes and no, the driveway would still be there, but it would be a drive-through wash bay. So as trucks enter, they don't have to back out, they can just drive through. An automatic garage door would allow them to drive through. That is a drive, there's a gate there. We use it sparingly. Probably the only time it's used is if we're hauling in salt, maybe sand and other, heavy materials up on the hill. Last year, we did open up, or actually put a gate further up, closer to the highway, up on the kind of the north end of the property to access the upper lot. So that would probably be the preferred entrance going forward. This entrance is not really the best for trucks coming and going. In fact, we actually had a truck got off and got stuck last year, I believe. So it's a serviceable entrance, but it's not preferred. And based on our operations going forward, it would be best that we use that for the wash bay and then use that other entrance to access.
So when you talk to them after you get the RFQs, the responses, do you talk to any of them, or do we come up here and just look at the qualifications and choose? And then we have interviews afterwards and talk pricing?
We can do it a couple different ways. Generally, the way we've done it lately is we'll do the RFQ. That's where you just get the qualifications. We'll review them. If we get enough submittals, we might ask for a request for a proposal from a couple companies and do interviews. You can do that, or you can just select one based on the qualifications. We've done that, just selected one off qualifications on engineering. I've never personally done an architect type contract like this, or this type of situation, so we might utilize some of our friends in the industry, maybe Jefferson City or maybe even Boone County could give us some assistance on that, so.
Just the price tag you had on it just seems really high. And I know if we have that much in it in the budget, then that's what their bid's gonna come up to, so.
We had it lower, about 50, and then we added the wash bay into the overall project, and we just felt like we wanted to make sure we had enough money for that. So it may not get to that much, don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it should. We gotta find a way to keep it below that, well below that, I think. I know adding a wash bay, it's still It's a rectangle building. I mean, you're gonna have to tie it in and a little bit of engineering and stuff, but still. It's a lot of money.
I hope I'm way high on that, no guarantees, but to further answer your
Yep.
question, we do, once we get all this, we'll select a company, and that's where we get into negotiations on price and scope.
Okay.
And if we can't get to an agreement on that, then we'll go to the next selected company. So-
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else?
Do we need approval to do the RFQ, or they just, basically it was just a informative?
Just information, get some feedback.
Okay.
I don't, we can do this in-house. I don't think we need commission approval, just, but we discussed it.
Okay. Perfect, thanks.
Okay. Health Department Conference Room HVAC.
So in our, I guess it's the east side of the building by the conference room, there's an HVAC unit that hasn't been working for a while. I think AirServe might have serviced it, but anyway, it's time to replace it. Greg checked on quotes. Jessica, our bargain hunter, got us a little bit more off with the connection. So we're asking to replace the unit. It's $13,555. I did get approval to use the ELC contract for that, so it'll be at no cost to the county.
I like that.
Yep, I'm good.
Can't object to the price. So the ask today is,
To approve the replacing of the unit for $13,555.
um,
And it was state contract, and then by piggybacking on a city contract, we were able to get, I think, another $500 off, something like that.
okay.
Say we got our money's worth off the old unit.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I'll make a motion to execute the contract with UMS United Mechanical Services for in the sum of $13,555 for the American Standard heat pump at the Health Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we are tabling the fiber optic runs for the new data project. So we will go to the Care Leave Committee, and our esteemed collector, Larry Vincent, is the chairman of that committee, so.
So he's mad?
Good morning. I
morning.
left you all a copy of the minutes from our care leave meeting we had on April 3rd to consider a request for care leave for a county employee, and our recommendation was to approve it as standard practice. It's my job to present that to you as a commission for final approval. So that our request is to go ahead and approve the application for care leave.
So this wasn't approved the last time we talked about it?
We,
We weren't on the agenda for it to be approved. The policy was approved the last time we talked about it. which
I was thinking both of them got approved, so.
well, last meeting, you appeared, but,
And
and
voted, yes.
raised your hand, but didn't demand to speak because you weren't on the agenda.
Well, I suggested we could do it as old business, but we're doing it the proper way, so plus we like to see you up here.
And, Mr. Collector, Mr. Chairman of the Care Leave Committee, this is the first application under the revised policy?
Yes, sir.
And it's parental leave.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the decision of the Care Leave Committee to grant the parental leave for the county employee per their notice.
I will second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay, signing of surplus property title. That's why I do this a lot.
Is it general for the vehicle? Public administrator. I'm sorry, yeah. It just comes up at a funny time,
Yeah, so our next delivery is scheduled for the end of the month, so we're just trying to get this taken care of, so we don't have that rush at the end. So it's just getting rid of the oldest ambulance in the fleet, and that has been discounted off of our purchase price.
Okay, so, you good?
Yes.
Make a motion to sign the surplus title for the 2016 Chevy ambulance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that one
Okay.
Purple Wave too, or is that trade-in?
It's traded.
Okay.
EMS staffing presentation.
That's a little bit late after we voted already.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. I'll try and manage. Good morning.
Good
I will
morning.
try and make this as brief as possible. I've had informal conversations with each one of you about the upcoming completion of EMS headquarters right down the street. As we've discussed all along since the inception of this project, it's our goal to move a second ambulance into the downtown corridor. This facility now gives us the ability to do so. Construction is scheduled to be completed at the end of September, so I think it's relevant that we start having this conversation now about how we are going to accomplish that goal of putting another truck downtown. So, just a quick review of our current daily staffing. So we do deploy, when we're fully staffed, 7 advanced life support ambulances, 2 at headquarters at Southridge, 1 in the law enforcement center here downtown. We have a unit out west in St. Martin's at the Regional West Fire Station. We have a truck down in Brazito at Cole County Fire. We have Medic 5 out in Wardsville at Osage Fire, and then Medic 6, which sits at the Cole County Fire Department station at County Park. That brings our daily staffing to 16 total personnel. That's 7 paramedics, 7 EMTs, 1 battalion chief, and a float EMT. And the piece that I want to highlight is that float position. So we are a 24/7, 365 service. It's very hard to maintain a schedule with the exact number of people needed to constantly fill that schedule. So we do have that one extra position that covers holidays, vacations, sick time, and really limits our overtime. And that position will come into play at the end of the presentation here. So this is our current standard of coverage. So the areas highlighted all fall within a 9-minute response time of an EMS station. That is the national standard per the National Fire Protection Association for the arrival of an ALS ambulance, and that's for an urban area. So as you can see, we are providing a very high level of service across the entire county when it comes to major population hubs. So the next relevant piece of this conversation is our annual call volume. So when you look at 2019, 8,700 calls for service. That has incrementally and exponentially risen across pretty much every year since, with another round of explosive growth so far through the first quarter of this year. We're on pace to top 13,000 calls for service. During this time, staffing really has kind of remained the same. We've had different deployment models where, you have an extra truck during the day with folks working 12-hour shifts versus, the 24-hour shift staffing. But the number of people has relatively stayed the same for all of those years. I believe that there was an increase right at the beginning of COVID, possibly. Some of those positions got filled, some of those were frozen when we went back to all 48 or 24-hour shifts. So when we look at the data, where do our calls happen and where are we the busiest? As you can see, the so-called city units, which are our 2 ambulances at Southridge and the ambulance at the law enforcement center, run an extreme amount of calls. Medic 2 there in the law enforcement center obviously is about 33% more than our other units assigned for service. You know, this is a difficult conversation because we can look at Medic 4 and Medic 5 and go, well, you know, maybe we should look at moving those. You know, all of our locations are strategically placed so that we can maintain that standard of coverage. It's not necessarily based on call volume, it's where can we provide the highest impact for response time. But this data does demonstrate the need for having another ambulance in the downtown corridor. When you see that, you know, especially 1, 11, 2, and then 3 covering the west, the high propensity of call volume that needs to be balanced there. So when we talk about what our folks do and how much time they spend on task, this is an industry measure that really evaluates how busy and how much time or percentage of our day that we spend running calls. So basically, you take all the hours per year and and that's the denominator, and the numerator is the total time on task. So we take the number of hours that our crews spend assigned to a call divided by the total number of hours per year, and you get their unit hour utilization. So as we see, it continues to rise from 2022 to 2023. And, you know, we're currently at a position where our crews are spending, you know, roughly 8+ hours a day, even a little bit more than that, assigned to a call for service. Now, this is just the time that they are transporting, assessing the patient, cleaning up at the hospital. This doesn't account for the charting, the restock, the return to service, and all the times in between those calls. So this number of actual work is much higher. So when we talk about, you know, yes, we work 24-hour shifts, yes, they run a certain amount of calls per day, but they are on average working more hours in their day than a normal, you know, 8-hour workday. So we have a couple options to meet our goal with all of that information in mind. Option number 1 is we can keep our daily staffing remaining the same, and we would permanently close Station 6, which is County Park, and relocate those personnel downtown. This decreases our coverage footprint, but it's really the only way that we can accomplish our goal with minimum impact. So if we don't want to expand staffing, we have to move another truck downtown. And really the only strategic position where there's a lot of overlap is that County Park location. Now that's not ideal because it doesn't necessarily come without impact. So again, for option number 1, personnel and staffing stays the same. We drop a station, but we pick up and move that truck into the city.
Chief?
Yes.
So how, if we say we close stations, Medic 6, how much longer is it gonna be for an ambulance to respond to Russellville or
Yep.
Loman?
So we'll get into that here in
Okay.
just a couple slides. So
Okay, okay.
when we
Sorry.
touch on, nope, you're fine. When we touch on the footprint of Station 6, this is the 9-minute response impact that station has. Now, obviously, there are other stations where you know, the coverage is overlapping. But when we look at the footprint and the ability of that unit to respond within the county, this is what that actually looks like. Now, to Commissioner Bushman's request, what does that actually look like as far as the impact of closing that station? With the overlap, what we're really looking at is this really highlight pink area. So this is the first due area for Station 6. This is the area that only they can reach within that 9-minute response time. If we remove that, you can see that this opens up Loman. Russellville obviously is, you know, a farther run for us, especially when that truck will now be coming from Southridge. We can almost get, you know, I think we're out here past Route D in 9 minutes, significantly past Route D from Station 6 currently. So that really opens up that Russellville corridor if we were to close Station 6. We know that's a problem, and that's a problem that we're going to have to address one way or another, whether we continue to staff and add that truck and have it at County Park. Even in the ideal circumstance, that station needs to move somewhere out here on Route C, which we've all had conversations about anyway. So, a couple things. We can have the short-term impact of option one, keeping staffing the same and moving that truck downtown. But then I guarantee you in a year or 6 months, I'm going to be back up here having the same conversation about a facility on Route C and, restaffing that station. So just want to be transparent with that. So option proposal number 2 is that we would add an additional ambulance to the system. So this would be taking our full staffing from 7 to 8 ambulances. And this requires 3 additional paramedic positions. That's because, as you recall from the opening slide, we have that one float EMT. So we would now partner that float EMT with a paramedic, and they would be able to go in service as an additional ambulance. So with this model, we hire 3 additional paramedics. Our daily staffing, full staffing, goes to 8 advanced life support ambulances, and daily personnel increases to 17. Obviously, there's a financial impact to this. So if we were to hire 3 additional paramedics, that year 1 starting salary is $58,000. Benefits are $20,301 for a total of $78,301 in total compensation and budget impact. Total, that is $234,905 that we would add to our budget. As we know, we are on a step salary plan. So those 3 paramedics would be guaranteed, if they were here for 7 years, to progress their salary. The total impact after that 7 years would be $273,791, plus or minus some changes in benefits. So obviously, that leads us to the question of what's the revenue looking like. And as we can see, we have had steady growth in revenue. Obviously, our expenditures and the cost of goods and services and the things that we require eat up the large majority of this increase in revenue year on year. But over the course of the last 5 budget cycles, we've been adding about $200,000 across both funds in total revenue. We are projected to, again, see another increase this year in sales tax through the first quarter and our fees for service. Fees for service get a little bit hard to estimate because we don't receive those monies in lateral or linear distributions. Some months are heavier than others depending on where we sit in the year. But this is the best forecast that we can get. And as I explained in my original email, I have gamed this out over several future budget cycles, and we are able to balance the budget accordingly with those 3 extra positions based on some financial forecasts. So that's all I have. I'm not sure that I actually have a request for you today. More than happy to have a conversation. I think one of the other pieces that I need to point out is that even if you were to authorize me to hire 3 more people today, that's likely a 12-plus month process to get to a point where that position is stable. Now, that's not saying that it's going to take me 12 months to hire 3 people, but in order to find people, just with the way turnover works, in order for us to see the full financial impact, we're probably looking at least 1 or 2 budget cycles from now. I wish that I could snap my fingers and have those positions filled steadily tomorrow, but that's just not the reality that we face.
Have you said anything about another ambulance in this whole discussion, or?
So the piece of the actual ambulance and the apparatus itself, we currently have a fleet of 14
Okay.
apparatus. So and we have 14 sets of equipment. So it would just be a matter of taking one of those ambulances out of reserve status and putting it in frontline service.
Okay.
But there would be added expense for that, so.
Right, added operating expense, fuel, and medical supplies.
I think we need to take that into consideration. So then your revenue looks like it's going up, what, about 130,000 for sales tax and then 130,000 in the fees.
Yep.
So there's gonna be a little bit of a shortfall, I think, in there. The float position, are we gonna be able to really, we're not eliminating that, but we're moving it?
Yeah,
Do you
so,
think you're gonna still need a float position? Probably, don't you?
so the point would be, is the float really allows us to be flexible in our current staffing. And while day after day, we would really like to have that eighth truck available, you know, I think you and I have talked about this a little bit, that eighth truck will really become the float in and of itself. So on days when we are fully staffed, that truck is in service. If we are understaffed, that crew will be split up to cover those vacancies, which then would eliminate or help reduce the amount of unscheduled overtime. Of course, we would try and backfill and reach full staffing with part-time and some of the other things that we have in place. But in order for us to be a little bit more flexible and try and be budget conscious, we would use that as a quote-unquote flex truck. So if we were not staffed fully, that truck would be downstaffed and those crew would be placed in other stations to achieve that staffing without hiring overtime.
I can tell you, just off the cuff, I don't like it if I have to face someone from Russellville or west of Russellville and say, you used to have an ambulance here in 9 minutes and now it's 11. And in some cases, it's life or death. So I'm going to be lobbying for option two. And no diminishment in service time just because we have a new ambulance downtown, the station, I should say. So that's my thought on it.
Well, I think as Wildwood Extension goes through too, you're gonna have more traffic, you're gonna have more housing, you're gonna have more retail. I mean, Wildwood's gonna kind of change a little bit of that area too, and you got more traffic on Rock Ridge. That's a terrible road. But yeah, I agree with Western Commissioner that I'm not comfortable taking away the ambulance at County Park. I don't think that's wise.
Don't want to get off too far in the weeds here, but ever since the current operation goes and the current financing goes, for every dollar of sales tax that is sent to you, you in effect send 60 cents of it back to the county, and the county forgives some property tax revenue as a result of that.
Correct.
And there was, I don't know what was magic about 60, but maybe it ought to be 50. Maybe we need to revisit that after all these years. We're actually getting so close to one of our levies that we have to keep reducing, that it's gone from maybe 35 cents to about a nickel. Is that right? Over all these years? We may be at a point where we'll have negative levy in a sense, which then means some suggest we have to go against a road and bridge levy at some point because we won't have an operating levy to reduce. I think we have to revisit that.
I think, to touch on one of Commissioner Helscher's points is that, maybe the revenue gap this year will not completely cover the addition of those salaries, but that addition of revenue, that growth of revenue has been consistent at $200,000+ every year. So while yes, things change, operational costs, we have increased in costs of goods, the fund balance year over year has grown steadily. And that's where I get into when I map this out over several budget cycles, is that, this, even with the addition of additional staff and their salary growth, revenue is still outpacing the addition to this, and it would, in at least 1.5 budget cycles, come out to be a moot point. It's just we would have less positive income.
This is just initial talks about it too.
Yep.
I mean, you came to us and the numbers probably show that we do need to probably add another ambulance, but we gotta work through the numbers. When this was voted on by the taxpayers, it was 60-40. I don't know, it may be 5 years from now, we can look at putting it on the ballot and changing it. I'm not crazy about that. Before that happens, I'd want to see that our general revenue property tax is eliminated, and then going after the road and bridge portion of it being eliminated as well, which you would think would make Eric cringe, but his money's not being taken from him, it's being put back in there through this sales tax. So he's still being held full there, so.
Yeah, I think one of the important points is that, while yes, we could always use more funding for capital projects, especially when we talk about something like strategically adding that location on Route C, the sales tax fund is healthy at this point in time. Obviously, we are in an arms race against other departments as far as pay and some of those other sorts of things that impact our ability to save money for capital projects, but we are not in dire straits. And I think as long as we do not see a setback in sales tax or fees for service, we can continue to provide an exceptional level of service for at least the near term, as far as needing to look at other sources of revenue and those sorts of things.
And these are all, you're proposing a 24-hour
Correct.
shift, adding a whole 24-hour shift. There's nothing saying that we couldn't go in there and say, well, these are peak times. Let's add an 8 or a 12-hour shift in there and maybe kind of baby crawl in it. I know that makes you cringe.
Yeah,
But it's an option.
I don't know that it makes me cringe as much as it makes finance and the auditor cringe, because then we get back into two pay scales and some really funny things to make sure that we're complying with the pay and compensation laws. So we did a lot of work to get out of that. So that would be something that I would not suggest getting back into.
But it's an option.
It is an option. You are certainly right.
Well,
It is
I
certainly
think
an
this
option.
is our number one call volume area. We need 2 ambulances in our new station. You know, in my office, I hear our ambulance from the jail going out. And
It's hard to take a nap, isn't it, Sam?
It is, by golly. But it's, and I'm not comfortable, I'm not in favor of closing down a station. I just, our citizens deserve good service, so.
Well, we've worked really hard to get them out in these outlying
Yeah.
areas and to make sure that
Yeah.
people are covered, to a decent call time. So I would hate it too. I think we got to do the futile exercise of going through all of this. You said hiring 3 people, but that's not 3 people that's going to be all on board at one time. It's just going to be 2 people, and they would be housed at the new substation. You
Yeah.
got one still at South Ridge then, right?
Yeah, so what would happen is we would add that additional truck on a daily basis, so 1 additional person every day, and we work 3 rotating shifts, so it'd be adding 1 person per day. So 3 full-time positions. But to further that, again, if you were to stamp this today and tell me to go forth with recruiting and so on and so forth, it's pretty intimidating, because I don't know how long it would take me to get to a point where we sustainably have 3 more paramedics within our organization. So I think that's the piece. I don't know that we need action immediately, but the time is ticking when we start talking about onboarding and ramp up to recruit and get these people. If we do want a second ambulance down there without any interruption in service on the day that the station opens, then we do need to start thinking about this.
Yeah, September's not gonna be that far off.
Correct. So, I guess my question is there something else you would like to see? Is there?
I'd like to see the call volume go down. That'd be the easiest thing.
It would be
Tell
the
people
easiest
quit
thing.
getting hurt.
Yes.
So, are these mostly citizens of Cole County then that we call? Do you have any idea if that's, are we responding, we got ball tournaments and stuff that come in town and track meets, cross country, what have you? I mean, does a lot of that come from that? Or is it increased just on our citizens getting having issues?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is serving, the populations that are at risk. So we see a lot of mental health. We see a influx. I think there was an article in the paper or in the news yesterday talking about some of the trends that we're seeing here and the relocation of the unhoused. That certainly adds to our call volume as we serve as primary health care for those folks a lot of the time. And then, we continue to see stress put on the system by our healthcare partners. With the integration of the health system, there's a lot of movement of folks back and forth. And, that certainly adds to our call volume as well. But, with the increase in call volume comes, the increase in fees for service. So, it's probably to the point where we need to make an investment back into the system.
I don't think I have any more questions. Thanks, Chief.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
And kudos on the cyanide poison over on Adams Street.
Yes. Another example of how making investments into what we're doing is impacting lives. So really good kudos to all of our crews and our partners at Jesup Fire.
Yes. Okay. Gosh, do we have anything else to come before us? St. Brian? Okay.
I think you're here for close.
Okay. If not, then I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Pursuant to Section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri, the commission will go into closed session to discuss the following: existing or proposed security systems under Section 610.021 subsection 19.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Him,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.